better.
Okay.
Also, send me one while you're at it, because all I got is a polo jersey that I swapped my own jersey for, so I kind of paid for it in a way. So send us both some stuff. We'll wear it.
Oh, for goodness sakes. All right, we go to Cafe Dostoevsky, the most banned operator. Banned out. No more Nook. Say goodbye. TSM, right now, they could join Spacestation Gaming as one of only 2 teams to clinch their spot to the major coming up in Sweden next month if they prevail here with all 3 points. They absolutely clinch. But I'm sure we will have a probability indicator at the bottom of the screen. My guess is once we're done the bans, Parabellum taking a long time on this defensive ban.
They are thinking about their options. Mirror, I'm sure, is an obstacle for them, and there it is off the board. And you know how I knew that? Because when I played against TSM, we left Mirror open, and we got 7-0 too. So Parabellum are doing a good job here, banning the right operators in my mind. And of course, TSM, they follow up with that Asami ban as well. So Valkyrie's on the board. Information will be had from both teams. But of course, TSM, they start on defense, so they get the bigger win on that one. And Parabellum, they got to struggle and attack first, as Cafe typically is a defender-sided map. How to see how it plays out. I like the Tashanka operator card, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I've seen that before from Gasher. Very nice.
Where is that one from?
That's what I'm trying to think. I actually don't know. I haven't seen it before. But I like what it looks like. Looks kind of scary, too.
Yeah, it looks spooky.
Spooky wooky.
There's the probability card. Parabellum's likelihood of making the major basically 0%. In regulation, they will have a shot. A win either way for TSM, whether it's 2 points or 3 points, good enough. Overtime loss would all but secure their spot as well, but not outright clinch it. Regulation loss still got pretty good odds. We saw very similar stuff from Soniqs. Soniqs had, it was an 87% chance if they lost in regulation, which they did.
10 seconds remaining.
Yep.
They play, who do they play next week? They play Mirage?
They play Mirage, yes.
They play Mirage.
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 Very first defense is in the old Kitchen Bakery bomb site now, just known as Kitchen.
Kitchen. Very peculiar operator lineup. Monty being brought with the Jackal and the Dokkaebi. They kind of tell us 2 different stories. The Monty tells us a direct bakery attack or backside attack, but the Jackal and Dokkaebi tells us a roam clear on the map. So curious to see what exactly is going to be happening here from Parabellum, of course.
Why not both?
Why not both, yeah? Well, the reasoning for that is because you're spread too thin, partner, right? You can't do all things at once. Gotta choose one angle, and right now it does appear to be a roam clear, so we're on the roof right now. I like Parabellum's flexibility when it comes to playing a shield operator. Kool-Aid has been the person of choice, both in Villa and then now in Cafe, to bring this operator for his team. Is bringing that secondary heart-breaching gadget device as the only heart-breacher for the entire squad. And they assume or know that TSM is going to be roaming, so that dining hatch is opened up for them already.
Asian looking for a bounce-back performance was yesterday. He had some struggles, and we highlighted how some of these players, on Parabellum in particular, have really not performed up to what I think a lot of us had expectations-wise for them. Doc was somebody that you talked about yesterday as well, coming onto this team along with Asian. They were both very highly touted prospects, but Asian just has not been getting it done in a lot of ways on the roles that he finds himself on. I mean, he is a brand new player, so there's lots of time to sort this out. Like, there's players that can take months to find themselves in a very comfortable spot, Nick.
That's true.
But right now, you can't just rely on Blaz carrying the way, and that's exactly what has happened for Parabellum in a number of these matches so far this stage. They need to be a bit of a deeper team against this TSM squad.
TSM opting for a very early fallback as well. A minute and 50 seconds was on the clock when both the roaming members fell down that dining hatch, and Parabellum is taking good advantage of this with that Jackal, who can see if there's any roamers remaining. Already starting to do a ton of verticality on towards the bomb side, both Sledge and Bok on the table. And normally you want to say like, oh, but how do they get to the bomb side? Well, the beauty is when you bring the Monty, you can drop and deliver the diffuser to a safe position, then start establishing the plant. There's no smoke on the defensive side, it's just Gasher on the Tashanka. So unless Gasher get a ton of value here, it should be a relatively easy plant for Parabellum.
Kool-Aid takes a bunch of damage as he drops in, but obviously Parabellum thinks it's very worthwhile. And now in the corner, Kool-Aid's going to get the diffuser down. It's absolutely free. Look at this. Do they even know? Nobody's moving an inch. Polo, the first kill, answered back, and now Kool-Aid can sit on top of that diffuser. TSM seem utterly bamboozled by this. They'll have to get back in if they want a shot, as they'd surrendered the bomb site to Parabellum. TSM now retaking from above. Snake exposing himself for a second by pillars, but doesn't get punished for it. He has to find the last two players that are sitting upstairs watching over top of it. Blaz is the good read on that one. And now it's Doc doing some shutout work too. Gasher distracted with the Montaigne, losing the battle. It's achieved in a 1v4 on top of the case, but it's Asian to jump in and shut it down. Parabellum showing great depth on that first round, and they take it.
Yep, and if you ever want to, talk about why are more and more pro league teams, why do they stop playing that kitchen bomb site? Well, this entire round is a perfect example of it. There isn't a whole lot you can do on the defensive side once you fall back from that roam. So when TSM falls back at 1:50, a little bit early as I mentioned, and with the Muncie on the board, you can just walk in and plant, unless you're bringing a ton of different bomb deny, Echo, Smoke, Tashange, information in general. Well, once that diffuser gets planted successfully, you quite literally just lose the round. Retaking the staircase is so difficult, the verticality is an obstacle for you as well, and as we just saw, you just don't have another way in. So we start seeing more teams basically leave that kitchen bomb site, and you play top floor, you play reading, and you play mining as your top 3 bomb sites. Maybe you'll go kitchen a single time, which that could be that single round that we just saw. But strategically, it is a very tough bomb site to defend successfully in the current meta of Rainbow Six Siege, and how good attacking teams are at dealing with the issues that are there for them. Of course, the roam was done from TSM, but they did not fight their way on the roam, they were just stalling for time.
Look at the lineup that's being brought from TSM. It's a good stall potential there for them as well. Achieved will, I imagine, likely play on that first floor, give them information as Pulse, give callouts to the remainder of the team. Whereas you've got, okay, Snake getting in on that very first pick, denying Asian a repel up on the south side of the map.
That's also your Nomad gone. That's very significant value, because now if you're Parabellum, if you had in mind to do like a limited take where, you cover your flanks and the retakes with those air jabs, that's no longer an option. Now you gotta have active drones or active guns holding those areas of the map instead, and you lose half your flashbang utility. So there are 4 grenades available for the attacking lineup, but now only 3 flashbangs to clear any obstacles in their way.
Bolo will quarterback any attempt to take control of Piano from Parabellum. He'll have to tussle with the deployable shield first. Bolo getting flashed out of his gourd, but he's persisting for now. Nitro Cell goes off, Eska witnesses it, but there's nothing else. Bolo falling back even farther as a nade goes in. Doc falls to Merc. TSM stretch their lead. Bolo still in this position inside a bathroom, patiently awaiting Parabellum. And just as he walks out, Eska times it poorly. That's unfortunate on his end, and not really his fault at all, as the grenade bounces off of Bolo, and the Wamai can get away with just a little bit of his life intact.
This is a reading defense, so this entire top 4 situation is just, it's while it matters, it's not the main focus point of this entire round, because if TSM wants to, they can fall back downstairs and just leave them that 3 versus 5 situation, but you might as well hold the ground for as long as possible. Because you've gotten 2 opening kills here, you now have an even easier task to hold what you care about the most, is upstairs. With that X-Cairo going off on that left-hand side cocktail wall, that is going to be TSM's telltale sign to fall off the top floor and just surrender this last minute of the round to the attackers.
Yeah, I mean, you got that advantage. Why not keep it in play? Haven't really seen much of what Achieved has been accomplishing for the team, but he's playing what appears to be by pillars, and he'll have a good read up on that back bar where the sledge of Eska is just tearing through the floor. Do bear in mind there's a potential, if Parabellum don't know this, of a Nitro Cell death. What we do know, though, is there's no Nitro Cells whatsoever on the side of TSM. So if Parabellum has done their homework, then they can play a lot more confidently.
They're on site.
They are. Kool-Aid's in the middle of the site yet again. Diffuser in hand. Snake getting punished for it. Suddenly Parabellum has made this a 3v3. Eska taking damage as Kool-Aid has to fall off the diffuser, running through all the bullets on the Type 89. Parabellum's reign of terror continues. Now Merc has to get into the bomb site and stop it in its tracks. He'll do just that. And now he just plays keep away. Merc is so good. He takes out 2. A third is there to be found as Eska is nowhere nearby to get the case. Parabellum had everything working for them, but they didn't have anyone protecting Kool-Aid. Merc took advantage of that and TSM get round number 2.
It's such a confusing round to watch because it was a 5 versus 3 and Achieved is on the bomb site with his pulse scanner in his hands, but he's looking at the ceiling above him, looking for that vertical member from Parabellum, and in the midst of all that, Kuda just walks in through the bomb site and kills him with the scanner up in his hands. He comes to that weapon spot the last second, but Kuda still wins the gunfight. Merc, of course, he salvaged the round back. You know, he found that kill. That was not good enough cover from Parabellum, and sees him to tie it up 1-1. Instead of going back, or rather, instead of going upstairs where they just defended as an extended roam, they will do that second tertiary bomb site choice of mining bomb site instead. Normally, this is where we see the mirror in action. Of course, Parabellum, they banned that out earlier. So instead, we're going to go with a castle and pulse as our 2 main operators to focus on. That's going to give you a couple of options here. You can take those castle barricades up above, as we see right now from Gasher, fortify this position on your screen. Achieved with the pulse scanner can play in the, all the way downstairs in the basement. He can play on top floor and scan down below him. He has so many different options to choose between. And essentially, Achieved is the main focus point for TSM when it comes to information gain on where this attack is going to be coming from. Valkyrie is on the board. It has not been played yet, but surely with time that'll change. No IQ being brought to counter either. Asian has gone from Nomad to Gridlock. Similar kind of operator, kind of like a flank watch / utility operator. Looking for a C4. We have a hatch peek here from TSM as we're aggressing on the red hatch. And the new balcony hatch.
Looking at these lineups, the Gridlock is obviously the fascinating point for Parabellum. We've seen Gridlock be brought out on this map many, many times before. When you have an anti-flank operator in play, Nomad was brought by Parabellum, or at least was shown by Parabellum back in round number 1. The benefit of it, obviously, are those stairwells. You can very easily hold off a return to the bomb site because of how vertical this map is. A Nomad or a Gridlock has some major advantage. Bolo, good lord. Goes for a jump out, gets 2 picks, and then goes back into the building. 3 players from Parabellum gunned down on that second floor balcony. There's 1:40 to go, and it's just Asian and Eska left.
That right there is basically the round. I mean, yeah, Snake adds insult to injury. Now we're in a 1 versus 5 with the last member of Eska on the rooftop of all places. No help, no drone. It's flawless. That's like the easiest round that we've seen today.
What a huge play by Bolo. What a huge round by Bolo and the rest of TSM. Imbued with powers by these pink jerseys. TSM win 2 in a row. And what is Gasher saying? 4K for Bolo, I think. Making gang signs at these opponents.
I saw a tweet from Henry, the videographer from Astralis, about TSM's new jerseys. And he was like, he was looking at the new jersey color, that's the pink one that we just saw on camera, but it's like under a certain light and it looked blue. And he was like, what's up with the blue jersey, boys? And they're like, what do you mean? Like, they're pink. And he said he was so embarrassed about it. I mean, it happens, you know? There is that very famous, I mean, you would remember this, Parker, that dress debate that happened a few years back. Is a dress white?
Oh, was it white and gold or black and blue?
Yeah, that one. Reminds me of that.
I mean, the obvious answer is black and blue. Like,
I don't remember that situation.
Duh.
I don't want to remember that situation, frankly.
Let's bring it up again.
No.
Chat, what do you think?
Oh, no.
Was it black and blue or was it white and gold?
So, do you know the science behind it?
I don't care.
Okay, I don't either. I'm curious if you did, because I wanted to know.
No, I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Not a scientist, I suppose. That's okay.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
If only that was true.
Second time's a charm here on this double kitchen bomb site down on the first floor. Parabellum marched into the bomb site last attempt. There's Kool-Aid holding onto the diffuser on the Monty. Guess where he is again? Same operator, same diffuser. Wow. So Parabellum is likely going to go with the same thing that happened last time. The only difference is that, well, you have to control that second floor. Kool-Aid saying nice shot to his own teammate after Snake dies on that early engagement, giving Parabellum a numbers advantage.
I am very surprised TSM is opting to go back downstairs. I am not a fan of this, I will say. However, I'm sure they have their reasons, but looking at how successful they were on both mining and reading bomb site, and how similarly the top floor bomb site can play out, it does surprise me. Parabellum now, they get the opening kill and a much quicker pace throughout the map here. TSM, in my opinion, would need to hold the roam game and try and get back that advantage, because if you fall back in just a few seconds, well, I don't see any real difference playing out from last time, which means it's a Parabellum victory. They have the same tools, same operator, and same approach to the round, and I think that will mean success for them.
Bolo gets thrown out on the second floor again, making sure that Monty cannot just drop through the hatch and become a massive headache. Especially when the only denial is going to come from the explosives, of which there's one in the hands of Merc, but more importantly that Tachanka of Gasher. No smoke being brought, so you don't have anything else to chip away at the HP. There will be Goyo canisters, I imagine, strewn about the bomb site to do some prolonged damage, and boy, do those start to deal some real heavy damage if you're in the middle of them. Gasher's flames from the Shamika launcher, those Molotovs, was not enough to slow down Kool-Aid last time he decided to drop through Freezer.
Parabellum's only thing that to change right now is go as fast as possible, right? Because we know that Goyo canisters, they might not know this yet, but if they do, they have to speed up the pace because that will be an obstacle for them. One of the only real win conditions for TSM. Again, no smoke on the board, no C4s besides the Goyo who's playing far away. Gasher finds a to Asian. That's 8 off the board.
And he knows exactly where the Monty's going to come from. Kool-Aid taking a tiny bit of damage. He'll have to soldier through these flames because Gasher can continue just putting them down. And he's kind of got Kool-Aid in a corner now, but no damage is being done to the Monty. Kool-Aid is just continuing to walk forward, and he's surviving the whole time, but Gasher takes the engagement anyway and wins it. Doc to follow up. Eska keeps the numbers tied, dead even, but Gasher is so good with this LMG. 3 kills to his name, a 4th could be had, pulls out the sidearm, and he gets it quite easily. There's only one more to go, and it's Eska. Does he get them all? No! Bolo denying the ace, but TSM still takes the round.
Impressive showcase in there from Gasher himself. Had no real support from his team, but still found so many kills. All 4 of those on the Bakery side was all owned by him. And Kool-Aid, the rest of the Parabellum, surprisingly enough, didn't go for that same similar attack. So they might have seen those Goyo canisters and thought that is not, not enough time on the table to really fix that situation. So let's try and go Bakery. And theoretically, not a bad choice, but Monty walks in completely alone, unextends the shield, and because the member behind him, the Buck, was low on HP, Asian could not push through that fire from Gasher, so he didn't want to risk losing his life to that gadgetry, so he stayed back outside that double door to Bakery. And therefore, well, Monty just does not find any value. And Parabellum, they're calling it a tactical timeout because they want to try and rectify the situation and get some attacking rounds on the board.
Yeah, not a bad time for them to do that, by the way.
We've gotten better at this. And
we have.
We is like the teams that are playing, right? Because back in the day, we always said, where's the timeouts? When are they going to happen, right? And a lot of teams would lose a game without ever taking one. So I will say, from stage 1 to 2 and now to 3, we've gotten better at that. Significantly better.
Do you say we because you like to associate with the team so desperately because you realize that you're looking back on the very two-time world champion? Is that why you say we?
I say we because I am a Twitch streamer, and I basically always say we because chat is with me.
It's like when you're at the bar and you've got the old guy who's all washed up, but he's a fan of the sports team. He's like, yeah, we just really need to work on our defense this season. It's like, I don't want to tell you that you are not on the team. We don't need to do anything. They need to work on their defense. You are not a part of it.
Call me a fan. I like Rainbow Six Siege. In fact, I love Rainbow Six Siege.
I was kidding. Cafe coming into today was only played fewer times than Skyscraper and Bank. That's it. Of the 4 plays that we'd seen at a Cafe, this being the 5th time, it is overwhelmingly favored by the defense, and right now actually has the highest defender win rate, tied with Skyscraper. It's 62% of the rounds going to the defense, 38% going to the attackers. Those are pretty lopsided numbers. Every single bomb site on Cafe is played pretty evenly. Prior to this matchup, 15 plays on that kitchen defense downstairs. Let me stop myself for just 1 second because the gridlock of Asian that we didn't get to see a lot out of on the previous attempt by Parabellum has traded away a great deal of HP to get a pick onto Achieved and give an advantage to Parabellum.
I think it is always worth discussing whether that is a worthy decision for Achieved. I mean, I'm sure he had the information that he was out there because he is the post, but if you choose to jump outside, Eska just needed himself. That happens. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but Mercs has nice shots, so they play this round 4 versus 4. But yeah, was it worth for Achieved as opposed to jump out the window, lose your C4, lose your information, and then now play that round with a man disadvantage? I don't know. but it might work out for them.
Really nice of Eska to give
Very
TSM,
kind.
yeah, to give TSM another opportunity. Blaz had fallen in on red stairs, surrounded by those track stingers of Gridlock. Still in this position. They know that he's over by this balcony, and he's just dealing with all the utility that's over there as well. Bolo barricaded himself up inside a bathroom, watching those angles into Piano. I don't know if he has a deployable shield at his disposal, as he did before. There's one deployable shield on the board somewhere. It came in the hands of the Gasher or Smoke of Gasher, and there you see it. The remnants of the shield gone, so that's why Bolo's been forced over towards the bathroom, and now will instead drop. This is not a cocktail defense, despite all the action on this top floor. It's a reading hold for TSM, and with about a minute left, they've all fallen off the top floor.
Yep. The thing is, Eska dying earlier might actually cost them now because there's no soft breach being brought from Zofia on that secondary utility. Sledge is dead, so Asian's Gridlock's secondary shotgun, if he has brought that and not the Gon 6, is like the only real vertical destruction that they have available to them right now. So very limited value can be gained from taking top floor control because Eska died earlier on.
Gasher next to Bolo gets picked off from this position, throwing a toxic bag up there, but was not able to make it go. Bolo losing a fight to Doc. That's not ideal. TSM's guns are just simply not showing up. And now it's Merc to test his luck. He knows that he's got to go for it. It's a 2v4. TSM scrambling to stay alive. Snake with some insurance. This is a pick on the Kool-Aid. Oh, Snake missing out again, but doing a ton of damage to Doc. Snake still in this spot. Is there a follow-up to be had? He gets gunned down, but both players now in the line of sight of Merc. He was the hero from this angle before. He'll have to stop the diffuser from going down, creeping up. He had some ideas, but there's nobody watching. Diffuser goes down. Merc in a very rough spot. Gets spotted by the drone, and he swing around. Tense moments for fans of TSM. Merc picking his poison, and he can't get past Doc. The pickup from Parabellum gets their second round, closing the gap, and Kool-Aid is juiced up.
Juiced up and throwing some words across the stage there. TSM, there's one big weakness in that particular defense that has really been an issue for them 2 times in a row now, is that when the X-Kairos, they come out in that cocktail wall, they don't have mute jammers, and more importantly, they haven't made a single vertical hole below the wall so they can shoot the pellets from downstairs, and that's going to signify their fallback time. And had they held that top floor for a little bit longer with a bit more power, that entire round could be in a different scenario. Now we got the question, who will win more duels, Blaz or Merc? And right now Merc sits on 3 kills and Blaz sits on 3 as well. Blaz has 1 more death. Merc wins out 58-42, which is actually surprising given how well Blaz has been performing throughout the entirety of Stage 3. I mean, the most kills in the league by far. Merc not that far behind again, but I mean, it's a significant amount of kill difference still at this level of play. Get the probabilities on screen. TSM, they need a regulation or overtime win to make it to the major, but an overtime loss will still net them a 99.2% chance of qualifying. Whereas Parabellum, I mean, they're in that G2 miracle run where they need everything to go their way to have a chance to qualify. It's not looking super likely, but it is possible.
Talk about those bomb sites just for a second while we have a bit of downtime here, Nick. 62% overall win rate each round by the defense. 87% of the time Kitchen gets won by the defenders. That is so dominant. That's on 15 plays as well. What was that? That's like 12 or 13 out of the 15. Mining and Dining and Reading and Dining both played 12 times apiece. Both won by the defense 58% of the time. So again, decently lopsided. Bar Cocktail on the top floor, the one bomb site that has not yet to be played, only won by the defenders 36% of the time, and that's exactly why you see it not show up as steadily. But it's been played 11 times, so all of these bomb sites played in roughly similar numbers, just with very different results.
Seeing TSM clear out a bit of the utility from the attacking side of Parabellum, clearing some drones, stalling for time, burning pieces of utility. Asian is on the Amaru, so there are options for people to go fast whenever they would like to. They can push that go button whenever they choose. Bolo playing that piano position very well, just staying alive, not taking any damage so far, but his shield has been cleared out, so he's a bit more vulnerable. He doesn't know if he can fall back or not, does not want to take the risk as of yet. Still waiting for the following drone.
Drone dead on.
It's a little bit of intel for TSM, but the drone gets taken apart, as does Eska. A beautiful shot by Merc, and frankly, a fight that Eska probably should not have lost. Bolo scrambling off of his position before retaking, maybe giving Parabellum thought that, well, you're nowhere nearby. They'll continue to engage. Down 2 as they'd lost Asian earlier on.
Let's see how Bolo plays this, because if he swings too aggressively, they lose the right stairs control. If he stays alive for long enough, he can just give that information that the right stairs is in fact clear and can cover Merc's flank. 50 seconds on the clock, Parabellum, they got a tough round ahead of them.
And it's very similar numbers, right? You've got 3 players from Parabellum fighting the 2 players from TSM. Bolo down for the count. Doc creeping down the stairs. The sound of a magnet going off perpetually, and Achieved losing that engagement. Achieved does not look like himself this stage, unfortunately. They'll have to rely on the supporting cast now of Merc and Snake, as TSM's advantage has evaporated at this point. Achieved finish off. Diffuser going down. Snake the next one to engage with the Yana Blaz, but you have to stand up against Blaz. Very few can do that. So take a seat, why don't you? That puts Merc in a 1v3. Parabellum all but certain now to close the gap. And that's Blaz to get it done. He knew where Merc was. He heard the rip. Excellently played by Parabellum in the post plant, and they tie the first half.
I really like how Parabellum approached the 3 versus 2 position there. Instead of planting, instead of mining, which has like the red stairs flank, the open area flank, etc., and verticality, they push all the way through the bomb side of train, or through train to the next bomb site rather, into dining, and they plant in a very safe and comfortable position where they have manpower, presence, and drones. So they take that extra 5 to 6 seconds to establish a strong position, then they go for that plant, because that's when you're the most vulnerable as an attacking team, as one member is unable to do anything, just trying to get that diffuser down, which takes a whole 7 seconds. And Parabellum, since their timeout in round number 4, they pick up the following 2 rounds, tying the half 3-3. That's a great position to be in on an attacker's start on Cafe. And TSM now, they have their work kind of cut out for them. They need to show up now and prove that they deserve the major spot by doing a good job on what is an incredibly difficult task, attacking on this map. It is not easy for any team. TSM, they're not known to play operators like the Monty. Geo is no longer on this roster to do that for them, so they might not have the same tools available as they would have had last stage if they wanted to try and approach it that way. Right now, it's a pretty basic, generic lineup from TSM. No real shenanigans are being brought, right? We got stable lineups, we got utility, we got Merc bringing Nomad for the flank watch and to limit Parabellum's aggression. And from Parabellum's side, they're bringing 2 key operators, Maestro and Valkyrie. Not just is this information in a C4, but the Maestro cameras can destroy so many drones from a safe position via those evil eye cameras that he can put on the map.
First half, by the way, in terms of numbers, it was a trade to start things off than the opening kills in the remaining 5 rounds. The first half were far more decisive, TSM taking 3, Parabellum taking 2. Parabellum's timeout was used after round number 4, and they won the next 2 rounds afterwards, so pretty good conversion after taking the timeout. TSM went on that 3-round tear, winning rounds 2, 3, and 4 in a row, including round number 3, which was flawlessly done. Parabellum got the diffuser down in the very first round, and in the last round too. So there's some play going around the objective on behalf of the attackers. This time, Gasher's going to hold on to the diffuser. He and Geo will likely be the supporting cast. Or sorry, not Geo.
I was gonna say.
I was thinking about the Soniqs. Gasher, and it looks like in this current lineup, Achieved will be the supporting cast, and in particular with Achieved, as was pointed out in the previous round, he has not been up to his usual standards, and I think that that's okay for TSM if you have both Snake and Gasher able to carry more of the load, as they came in to effectively replace Geo and Chala, but have played in a different way. Bolo seems to be back to his old tricks, but he's got 2 separate players to look after and struggling a bit with target prioritization. He gets away before Blast can inflict some more damage. Eska died, though, to the entry from Bolo, so TSM leads the way here in round number 7 before they lose Merc to Kool-Aid, playing upstairs in Cocktail on the very first Cocktail defense that we've seen in this matchup.
And look at how much more front and forward and aggressive the Parabellum also is. They're fighting TSM every chance they can get, whereas TSM, they're falling back from these gunfights. Of course, this is the bomb set upstairs. They had to fight more, but it's a very aggressive hold.
Bolo still in the same spot. He can see back bar, he can see white stairs, He can hold off in piano, but what he doesn't seem to see is the Wamai evasion in this rack corner, and they know that someone is close by. And ADS catching one of those explosives or even those concussions that are shot out from the Lifeline launcher. Blaz taking damage, but he wins the engagement against Bolo. I think that was a single shot from Blaz. Asian has not been moved out of his position, and he does some significant damage as well. Gasher wanders into his demise, and Achieve picks up one before Parabellum shuts him down. Parabellum had the lead in round number 1, surrendered it after that. It takes them quite a bit of time, but in round number 7, they gain it back, and now they've won 3 rounds in a row.
To go back to your previous point about Achieve, this on the defensive side, he's playing polls, he's giving out information, and he doesn't really need to find that much success on the scoreboard. Right. But when you go on the attacking side, you are playing the Sledge, which is a crucial operator, because whenever Sledge dies in Cafe, unless you're attacking the very top floor bombs that we just saw of Cocktail, you need the vertical operator to not only be in the round and stay alive, but also just find value, because you're the one who's going to be using your sledgehammer, breaking the floor open on this particular bomb side of Kitchen and Kitchen. You got to use your grenades effectively to clear pieces of utility, and if somebody swings you from below, you got to win your gunfight to take advantage of the fact you have the vertical advantage and therefore get the kill. So Achieve, if there ever was a time for him to show up and shine in this matchup, it is right here and right now on this round number 8 attack from TSM. Before Achieve can be enabled, there's something more important that has to be dealt with. That is the roaming setup from Parabellum. One thing they've done different in TSM, they're bringing out the mute on Doc. He's going to be jamming up the library doors, train, dining, etc. And that's going to slow down TSM significantly and make it much more difficult to really map out where the members are going to be on the map. I like that Gash is going to Buck. You get a secondary vertical operator, you can assist the Chief, relieve some of that pressure and stress, and of course, it's a great backup operator who can also bring secondary heart breach in the can opener, a gun 6 as a secondary sidearm, and the vertical on top of that. Massive value operator again. But it only matters if you get in through the building without dying first. So TSM, they're playing this fine line between taking enough time to safely get through the building, while also being quick enough to have time to work with once they get there.
45 seconds. Parabellum on this defense of the first floor, not the basement, the first floor.
Yes.
They've already scrambled off. The TSM have not been that quick to get into the building. It's taken a minute. And then they'll have to confront the various barricades that have been set up to slow them down. Doc and Eska side by side, but a wall separates them. I don't think there's an opening for him to rotate out. No, but there is a drop. So if Parabellum needs to, Doc can very easily go through the freezer. And again, Eska can catch the follow-up. Nitro Cell goes off, but it does not hit a thing. I don't know if that was faulty information, but that's an explosive that you want to be a bit more accurate.
Time here is slipping by TSM's side. They have technically roam cleared the map as members of PP that have dropped the hatch and fallen back, but minute and 20 to go and no vertical play has been done yet. Again, this is where Gasher on the Bug attacker replay comes into play. By doubling your soft breach utility, you can, technically speaking, do it twice as fast, and that's exactly what TSM needs in this round because time is going to be a problem for them.
Doc has dropped, by the way. Parabellum staggering their fallback, doing so with time being very much on their side. So about every minute they've fallen off one of the floors. Now they've consolidated downstairs. They just regained the lead in the previous round. I would imagine that if this is a victory for Parabellum, TSM must take their time out.
Yeah, I'd agree with that statement. You gotta figure out what the issues are, and right now, well, we have to wait and see. Parabellum, they're hiding in corners, and that might pay off for them. Doc is in a crucial position inside of Kitchen. He is the single member that can stop TSM push.
And he's got a shotgun, so as long as they time themselves in such a way, then he can very easily capitalize. No smokes from TSM. Toxic canisters all used up from Parabellum, so they're going to drop. And there's Doc. Levels 1, levels both, and he gets them dead to rights. Doc still in this crucial position as there's a player over by White Stairs. He can get out of the way, and now reposition, but by the door there's Merc to rush right in. Engaging multiple foes and winning every single time. 2 more nearby, but the diffuser is the bigger issue, and Achieve doesn't have the clock on his side. Parabellum have now stitched 4 rounds together. And boy, oh boy, TSM are in trouble.
Yeah, and you said it best. Now, if TSM were to lose that round, that is when your tactical timeout has to come into play before it's too little too late. The execute from TSM is arguably not the end of the world, but Bolo did actually have both of his soft breaches and maybe even stuns in his pocket. It was used there on Dog in the midst of a gunfight, which seems a bit peculiar to me. I think Bolo wanted to drop the hatch and open up the freezer wall, but you got the bug right next to you. It's a much quicker, safer option, but regardless of what happened, Parabellum, they played that round well. And it is indeed going to be a TSM tactical timeout for everything right now. Because remember, if they win in either overtime or in regulation, they're basically, or well, they are qualified for the major, which is their entire goal for this stage, right? Bringing it back to the international stage, gain international experience for Gasher and Snake, as Snake only played, a single match at the Saudi event. So they really are green members here on the TSM roster.
Timeout being done to sort out this TSM attack. Here's where the problem really emerges from.
Okay.
Talked about it back in the very first half, is that this is a very defender-sided map, tied with Skyscraper as the most defender-favored map in the entirety of the map pool. TSM were unable to run up the score on their defense. They tied Parabellum 3 rounds to 3. All things considered, tying the first half on a lot of maps, not terrible, especially against evenly matched teams. But when you are coming in as one of the best teams in North America with a chance to lock in the major, and you're playing up against Parabellum, who are presently towards the bottom of the North American League standings, and you start on the favorable side of a map that you shouldn't have a problem with, and you can't win it outright, that's when it becomes an issue. And now Parabellum has won 2 rounds on defense. One more round, and Parabellum will at worst tie TSM's record on defense. That would put Parabellum on match point. Parabellum are... they almost have no shot in hell of making the major. 3% chance if they win in regulation. It all comes down to what happens next week, and they will need a perfect storm of teams losing to other teams. You're playing spoiler right now to TSM, who could clinch if they win this game outright, either in regulation or in overtime. Right now, the odds of TSM doing that, they need 4 rounds to Parabellum's 2. It's very doable, but Parabellum showing that defense on Cafe is the side you want to be on. TSM have their work cut out for them on attack.
I like the changes though. Merc bringing the Lion to stop the aggression from Parabellum. Bolo bringing the IQ to counteract, or combat rather, the information game that Parabellum has been playing around, right? Because it's been Eska and Blast swapping the role of the Valkyrie, gaining crucial amounts of information and acting upon it accordingly. The one thing that TSM cannot really change much is the outcome of gunfights. And Parabellum, they're just a little bit sharper in that department right now, winning more than TSM is. Even when TSM got the opening kill back on their first attack round of Cocktail, where Bolo just stormed the white hallway, even that didn't go in their favor. Merc with the Lion's charge, and of course help assist those gunfights, as you can limit the movement of Parabellum, or at least force out a red ping to help assist in the information game. PP, they're holding up top strong, and TSM's pace again a little bit slow.
Pace is the word of this matchup so far, and I mean, hey, I appreciate that a team would be a bit more practiced and maybe a bit more patient when they have the matchup on the line. TSM is not there yet, but it's not looking good. There's no way in hell Agent just made that shot. Are you absolutely kidding me? It doesn't even matter that he then lost his life and so did Kool-Aid. That was just disgusting. Good God.
Doesn't matter though.
Pay a moment of respects here for just 1 second.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
Okay.
Good.
But will it matter though? Because you're down in numbers. Now you gotta try and wing it back. You have to make this play from Blast. It gets punished, but he stays alive. 45 seconds left. C4 is prepped and ready. It has to hit his mark.
Actually quite surprised that Snake did not walk away with that pick. Eska droned out of the corners as Nitro Cell goes off. Surrounded by his teammates. TSM have an advantage of 1 at the moment, and it becomes 2 as Blaz, who was engaged in that earlier fight, gets spotted. Now it's Doc to go down 2. Eska falls and Snake gets the ace. Remarkable stuff as all 3 of the final kills come by his hand. And why not? It was a 1 versus 5 effectively in that round. TSM, they desperately need to stay in this and stay competitive. An ace from one of your newer players is always a good way to ensure that the rest of the team can follow up with you and have confidence in your abilities. The timeout from TSM seemingly worked.
Yeah, the aggression was great, right? Their pace was extremely slow. They just got into piano 1 minute 30 seconds into the round. But then 10 to 15 seconds later, they're storming the white hallway with 2 members, and they don't even have to trade each other out. They just simply win all their gunfights. Vertical control, soft destruction, lock down the flanks. Everything was played beautifully by TSM, but it was the only round where that has been the case. So they have to do it a couple of more times to have a chance to bring this into a regulation or overtime victory. So consistency right now for TSM is the biggest name I can mention for them. And they are going to change things up on their operator lineup. I think Merc realized that the Lion didn't really get as much value as he wanted. So they're actually going to give Bolo more freedom to play aggressive, and Merc can take over that IQ role of spotting out utility and mapping the layout of information game from the side of Parabellum. And that's also because IQ is being played now consistently for TSM. Parabellum are going away from those information operators to try and lower the value of the IQ. If you bring both, let's say, a Pulse and a Valkyrie on the defensive side, knowing the enemy's playing IQ, you're almost giving her value, because now she has a purpose for her gadget. By no longer playing these operators, the IQ effectively becomes way less valuable, and it's just like a running gun. You don't really have a real gadget to enable yourself with or your team, and that's essentially why we can see Parabellum make that choice. TSM, they still have tons of time to work with. The round is early on. It's all about finding that opening kill, gain a small advantage, and then leverage it from there. So a slow start can be expected, but an explosive mid to late round.
Well, already opened up underneath that red hatch. Leads ticket booth inside a piano. Stalwart defense from Parabellum. Got 3 players upstairs in Cocktail. Kool-Aid down below, nestled in maybe not the bomb site, but the train component that connects the two in this mining defense. Quite the rotation that we've seen from Parabellum so far on defense. Shows confidence, and again, the one thing that we note about Cafe is all 4 of the bomb sites get played with relative frequency.
Yeah. Similar win rates as well for the most part, except for that top floor bomb site. Asian on the fire takes a ton of damage. They fall back off. Everybody stays alive, but TSM, they've basically roam cleared the entire top floor with that simple gunfight going in their favor. And once they drone this out, they will know that that's exactly the case. They can start working that piano floor, open up the hatch perhaps with Gaseous X Kairos, and set up for their stage 3, which will be the execute. They have tons of options, so many different avenues, red stairs, white stairs, and multiple hatches they can drop. It all comes down to their own preferences and what weaknesses they can find from Parabellum's defensive setup.
Look at Snake creeping down, 9 kills, 5 of which all came in the previous round. An excellent position if somebody from Parabellum decides to rotate towards white stairs. Red stairs now claymored off. Again, these stairways on a very vertical map, so critical. Snake and Eska just pass by each other, sight unseen, not aware of how close either of them came to death. Kool-Aid poison ready for the drop through the hatch. TSM have dot their eyes, cross their T's. Gasher getting the diffuser down. Asian gone. Eska follows. Achieved. Done. 2. Killing coming in fast and furious. TSM walks away with the diffuser planted though. And now it's Parabellum falling by the wayside. Doc has something to say about it. On white stairs. Punishing Snake. Problem is, you've allowed TSM to get out of the bomb site. And they've repositioned in such a way that when you get on that diffuser, you have to be wary of the window play. Doc knows this. Can he long arm it? Is he able to get there at the halfway point? TSM. They're not fast enough. TSM need to vault in. Doc might be able to get it. Oh. And he doesn't in time. TSM cleans up, sweeping through the site. And we'll have all 12 rounds as it's 5-5.
Oh lord, the post line from TSM was not coordinated 100%. I mean, I was expecting somebody to go upstairs, break the soft floor, and then have a really superior positioning. But I think TSM realized halfway through that post plan that no one was actually in a good position to shut down a potential defuse there. Bolo saved the round. I think he repelled in the dining window and went for a flank or something along those lines. Either way, it worked out in their favor. But that was way too close for comfort, given how confident they got that diffuser down and how well they coordinated. Bolo was actually above, dropped the piano hatch, and got those 2 kills. And TSM, after their timeout, they found 2 rounds in a row. One of those rounds they planted the diffuser down, and now they're tied back 5-5. They still have a shot at a regulation victory, but so does Parabellum. They're going to take us back to that first opening round bomb site that they chose, which was Cocktail. It's where they became victorious Then they went to Kitchen, same story. But ever since round number 9, it's been TSM in the driver's seat. And they're looking mighty fine since Pojo Man got to talk to the team for just those 60 seconds.
Yeah. Both of these teams benefiting a ton from their timeouts. Parabellum called theirs in round number 4. They won the next 4 rounds. TSM called theirs in round 8, and they've won 2 since. Now, obviously, I'm no mathematician, but that means that TSM will also win 4 rounds, which means that they will outright win the game 7-5. If TSM go to overtime and prevail, or if they win here in regulation, they qualify for the major. The only team so far today that has done so is Spacestation. 3 other teams were in position to do so. With a victory, the Soniqs would have done it. A victory here for TSM, they get it done. A victory for Mirage in their next match, and they get it done as well, which would mean that all 4 teams will be locked in for the final day. But we're on the Chaos timeline, baby. And if TSM does not win, then we know at least 2 teams will be fighting for their life next week.
All comes down to the wire on that final Playday potentially. TSM, of course, they can change that right here, right now. And Parabellum are playing relatively far back already, so this is a different story than last time. 2 minutes left on the clock. We have completely ran back from Piano, Cigar, Beneath the Skylight. And we're playing this very secondary hole. We got the shield instead of stock freezer, where my mind's playing with ADSs. Sure. But then look at how far back everybody else is. 2 members on the cocktail bomb side, 1 member white stairs, and the final member is downstairs below with that C4 in hand is Blast. Bolo, nice shot.
On to Eska. Eska hasn't really been showing up as well for his team today, and he had that unfortunate self-nade earlier on as well. Not exactly good for Parabellum. Yesterday, Parabellum was buoyed by the fact that Blaz was killing everybody and everything, and he'll kill Bolo now as he approaches double digits. Nobody on either team, other than Snake, I suppose, as he's got 10 kills from the previous round, have broken double digits. Nobody on Parabellum has either. It's a much deeper team, though, and that's what he said. You need that depth. Blaz's shoulder takes quite a hit as he decides to peek Snake and walks away with his life. The way that Snake has been playing so far today, he's very fortunate to do that. Final 45 seconds. And no matter what happens, somebody goes to match point.
Tough position for TSM. They have no smoke and there's no way in, but this cabinet has not been broken. They could go for a sneaky plan with good coverage here. They see it, they read it, they go for it.
Gasher's got the diffuser in hand, Merc watching over top, and he gets absolutely shredded by it. Asian trying to do some damage, and the diffuser goes down. Suddenly there's a scramble. TSM with 2, Parabellum with 2, Timer working away, and Gasher hasn't even moved off of the case just yet. Snake swings on to Asian, collects yet another kill. It's the dirty dozen for him. He get lucky number 13 if Kool-Aid doesn't watch himself. A beautiful flick from Kool-Aid, but Gasher gets it done. First the diffuser, and then the final kill. They guarantee themselves at least 1 point as TSM move to match point, and they can't lose in regulation any longer.
That is probably the most heartbreaking way to lose and go to match point if you're, or against match point rather, if you're Parabellum. They simply did not have a shotgun available to open the cabinets in that default plant position or the long distance that leads to stock freezer. So that just grants TSM the easiest plan possible. And the thing is, the smoke on that round, I didn't see exactly what player was playing the operator, but you were bringing the FMG. That's 1 less shotgun. And you're bringing barbed wire, I believe, on the Maestro. So Maestro is your only self-destruction operator. You gotta make multiple rotation holes, soft breach, angles. Either there was no more ammunition left in his secondary pistol in the bailiff, or he forgot to make those holes, or he simply didn't have enough time for the setup during that prep phase to get it done. And it's one of those really basic things that you expect to have when you make a bomb site setup. You gotta open up certain lines of sight, reinforce certain walls. They missed that very simple yet crucial step, and it punished them immediately. It's a very good read by TSM. They found the Valkyrie camera granting information as well, and that was all they had to do to find that victory. Now Parabellum, they gotta fight for overtime and then try and spoil TSM's chances by taking a victory against them in OT once they get there. Otherwise, TSM, they make the major.
I want the Chaos timeline, though. I said it. I'm not gonna shy away from it. I want that Chaos timeline so desperately. I want Mirage to lose to Beastcoast as well. So Beastcoast will get their very first victory, and then we end up with 3 teams that we thought would clinch today, not being in that position. It would open things up for Parabellum as well if they get 2 points. But a single point for TSM really does bolster their chances. They have a 99.2% chance. That's correct, 99.2 if TSM loses in overtime of making the major. So still a pretty good shot of it. 1 minute to go. TSM bringing a lineup imbued by this Lion and keep Parabellum in place. Parabellum has roamed pretty effectively, but there's the EE1D that's used. First one to go. It spots only a single player from TSM. That's it. Or from Parabellum, rather, as TSM can't take advantage of it. They breached the building. They have a good idea. Bolo could be the first one to engage, but Doc playing a bit sheltered.
You can feel the intensity of this opening gunfight as Blast looks for one as well. The flank here could be absolutely lethal. They have no idea this is happening. It's a great read from Blast. The risk is so huge, but Blast is one of those players who takes these risks time and time again. But the drone, it comes out from TSM. They can see it.
Oh, achieved the first one to go down for TSM again. He has not been getting it done in his position. Both sets of nades, or both nades rather, seem to be gone. Gasher at least avenges his teammate as Merc now under fire for TSM. 1 minute to go. TSM tie things up with the numbers. They have to get down to that bottom floor bomb site, Nick.
They do. But Sledge is gone. Self-destruction limited. Verticality is compromised. Of course, Gash has to rush from the rooftop all the way downstairs to try and help his team get there. But then you still gotta battle the toxic base from Eska, the C4 from Doc, Blast's lethality on the aggression. With 35 seconds left to go, you gotta problem solve and make so many correct decisions right now for TSM to take it in regulation. And Parabellum, they're ready for it.
The big thing is watching from that main door in the kitchen. You have to ensure that if somebody is coming from over towards Whiskey, that you shut them down. Toxic canisters will continue to go out, and they've all been used now. Eska doesn't have any remaining for the final 15 seconds. That could not be what they need, but look at this. There's an opening created. Blast guns down Bolo, but it's him all alone. Blaz will need to clutch this out. Gasher with the diffuser, Merc watching. They know exactly where he's going to come from. And in the second team to go to the major in the fall, winter, whatever you want to call it, TSM qualifies with a win over Parabellum.
And a lot of people, myself included, were thinking, is Snake and Gasher really the answer that TSM needs to bring back their superstar form? And I don't think we know the answer to that just yet. But they have made the major, they've significantly improved their stance from Stage 1 and Stage 2, and despite having 2 rookies on their team, they are looking like a better team overall so far.
The year started with TSM winning 6 Invitational in Sweden. Will it end with TSM winning the major in Sweden? Well, we at least know they're going to be there, and they'll be able to defend their crown on Swedish soil. Even though it's not the 6th Invitational, a major, still one hell of an accomplishment should they win. That was a tense match. 4 rounds in a row for Parabellum. Started off with Parabellum winning 1 round, then TSM wins 3 in a row. Parabellum wins 4 in a row, then TSM win 4 of their own. That was not really as back and forth of a matchup as you think, as the teams were defined by their lengthy streaks of round victories. Either way, 3 points for TSM. They and Space Station, the 2 teams to clinch today. 1 more team could go. Mirage plays Beast Coast in our final matchup of the day, and if Mirage wins, they also go to the major next month. We'll see, but before we get there, a break and then the analyst desk. Sit tight, we'll be right back.